on April 2nd, 1910, to Sophie and Peter Herber. He was of Belgian and Native American Indian descent. He was raised along with his younger brother Peter in Green Bay and De Pere area of Wisconsin. I am Steven Lamont Bodley, and Arnie Herber was my grandfather. As a teen, Arnie attended Green Bay West High School, where he met my grandmother, Lois Lefevre. He was a great athlete at the age of 15, a sophomore. He helped West beat rival East High in long-awaited historic football game. In truth, that game, until he graduated, his team would know only one defeat. He was not only the captain of the football team, but also of the basketball team. He graduated a 10-letter senior that included his contribution to track, throwing shot, discus, and javelin. Arnie and Lois married and moved to Colorado, where he attended Regis College. There they gave birth to their only child, my mother, Jean Rondine Herber. Lois had a sister, Jean, and a brother, Robert, and her parents were George Alexander Lefevre and Olive Rondine Wetterhall. Family and football, two great reasons for the couple to return to Green Bay. This wedding photo is on the front steps of the house George Lefevre built for Olive in the late 1800s at 603 South Oakland Avenue in Green Bay. Lois' sister Jean, with Dr. Robert Southard. In attendance was Dr. and Mrs. Robert Lefevre, Dr. Carlton and Dorothy Bowles, and my grandparents, Lois and Arnie. My mother, Jean, was the flower girl. From that time on, Bob Southard and Arnie were the best of friends. After earning a spot by Curly Lambeau in 1930 as a halfback, Arnie went on to become what some have said one of the best and most accurate quarterbacks in NFL history. Arnie played on the 1930 and 31 championship teams, the leading passer in 32, 34, and 36. He led the team to championship games in 36, 38, and 39, winning twice. Grandpa often broke the hearts of Packers opponents as he completed 410 passes for more than 6,700 yards and 64 touchdowns as a member of the Packers from 1930 to 1940. In 1937, Hollywood asked for a sports short to be filmed and played in the movie theaters. Remember, television had not yet been invented. Here he is on the Fox set with teammates. Before filming, he and Lois took in sightseeing and stopped by Fisherman's Wharf for a bit of snow crab. He threw a football 50 yards through a 3-foot by 3-foot plate of glass that hung from the goalpost. While there, he rubbed elbows with Tinseltown royalty like Bing Crosby, Buddy Ebsen, Loretta Young, John Wayne, Bert Lahr, the Cowardly Lion, and Pat O'Brien. Arnie would see Pat O'Brien again when he was the Master of Ceremonies at Arnie's induction into the Professional Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio in 1966. Back home, Lois and Arnie spent time with their families. Brother Peter was married to his sweetheart, Marina, and together had 15 children. Peter Herber Jr., Donald Herber, Carolyn Dodens, Dan Herber, Charlotte Vandehei, Rick Herber, John Herber, Mary Rolfe, Victor Herber, Margaret Kean, and James Herber. They had another son, Chuck, who lost his life as a child. Lois and Jean also spent time in their Erie Street, De Pere home with grandmother Olive, who eventually lost her sight. Sophie married August Volker and had Arnie's young sister Pat, Mom's best friend and niece, Patsy. They often dressed alike, and they are pictured together with family in front of Nana's business, the Pepsi-Cola bottling company, located in De Pere's east side at that time. Later in his career, Arnie played a short time in 1944 for the New York Giants at the age of 35. This photo is of his family on top of the Empire State Building. He returned to play after 3 years in retirement. He led the New York Giants to the NFL championship in 1944, where they lost to the Green Bay Packers 14-7. He threw 15 more touchdowns as a New York Giant. Not long after Arnie and Lois divorced, he married our grandma, Bobby. She loved us all and made great memories with us at their cottage on Trump Lake. Even the outhouse was painted green and gold. Grandpa was an avid fisherman, and as children, Scott, Robin, and I learned how to bait a hook, scale and clean a fish, and fillet a fish. Family time was spent at our home on Erie Street in De Pere. This was a visit from Dr. Bob Southard. My grandfather attended the 25th class reunion of his 1928 graduating class. He is in the back row, on the right. I should mention, he held the school record for javelin that may still stand to this day. In 1954, my mother Jean married a young Air Force pilot from De Pere, Lieutenant Otho Ray Bodley, who lost his life in 1960. His plane was over Utah and malfunctioned, as did his ejection mechanism, and he fell to his death. His father was Lamont Bodley and his mother Otho Bodley. They had 3 children, Scott, myself, and Robin, I being Steven. Mom moved us to live with Lolo in De Pere from Warren, Ohio, and Arnie stepped in easily to assume the role of father. This is 4 generations taken with the oldest of us, Scott Arnold Bodley. We had the best grandfather ever. At that time, we were not aware of his football legacy with the Packers. He was just Grandpa. Saturday morning, we spent driving in his station wagon, gathering change on the Pepsi machines around town. He always got a pop and tried to get the Mountain Dew bottles inscribed, bottled by Pete and Repeat. We watched him grill fish and other great dishes on his after-Packer game shows called Backyard Barbecue, sponsored by the Durkee Seasoning Company. He even had a clothing line back in the 1930s. My mother loved her father very much. In 1966, he got the news that he was nominated and would be inducted into the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. This was his greatest honor. He went to a parade in Green Bay where everyone cheered for Grandpa as he rode by in the convertible. Arnie attended the ceremony in Canton, Ohio, with his wife Bobby, his mother Sophie, his sister Pat Rainier, and my mother Jean. When I was 12 years old, we were in Florida and my mom got a call that Grandpa was sick. We packed up and came right home. Grandpa had 1 surgery for stomach cancer, but on October 14, 1969, he lost his battle at the age of 59. So often we would see him chewing the end of an unlit olive green cigar. Since that time, articles and passages have been written about him. You will find film and memorabilia in the Green Bay Football Hall of Fame. but let this be to our family memory of a great man, a man who was passionate about football and would have played for free, without pads or face masks, in the mud or in the snow. A man who was known to stand up for those who needed it, and a man who would step in with 3 small children and give them a memorable childhood. Arnie Herber was Green Bay's hometown hero. Also, at some point, people will forget what he did or forget what he said. But we will never forget how he made us feel.